your criteria change, but early on, sometimes you just do the one that's in front of you because the experience or the money or the role is just something you need to have.
Yeah. What's going on, everybody? My name is Hassiem Mohammed, and you are listening to The Actor's Instrument, where we discuss the essential qualities you need to stand out in the entertainment industry. Okay, guys, there's no doubt that our industry is currently undergoing what they call a contraction, and many of us are left not knowing where to turn when it comes to just everything we've been taught about how to make it in this business. It just seems like it's not working anymore. But today's guest, who has been working in the business for a few decades, has a story that, to me at least, illustrates how some things in this business truly never change. Jason Kravitz, currently starring in Disney's live action remake of Snow White, is an actor who had his start in the DC theater scene and would later develop a sketch show, Making Faces, which would eventually go on to win Best Sketch Show at the 1999 US Comedy Festival in Aspen, and effectively catapulted his career to the next level. Jason is best known for his series regular role on The Practice and has appeared in dozens of other titles like Smash, The Michael J. Fox Show, The Big Bang Theory, Only Murders in the Building, and many, many others. Jason, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Hasim. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. It's Monday, starts the new week, long to-do list. You know how it goes.
I do indeed. I do indeed.
Are you on the schedule for tomorrow?
I am not working on Time in Athens tomorrow. I think I was supposed to, but I have I'm otherwise engaged tomorrow afternoon, so I cannot do it.
Heard.
Yeah.
That's a good problem to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jason and I are currently working on a play on Shakespeare production of Timon of Athens. I've been telling people the easiest way to explain it, it's like a radio play, but for podcast. So
Pretty much. Yeah. It's a radio Shakespeare play in chunks,
yeah,
in easy to digest chunks.
yeah. So it's an adaptation. They've split the play into episodes. Um, so it's easily digestible, as Jason said. And they're putting in the works. I mean, we've got sound effects. We've got all the stuff tomorrow. A lot of us are being called in to kind of do some more recording just to build the world, get reactions from bystanders and characters who are maybe unnamed, but in the real world, you'd hear them. Um, yeah, it's been a good time.
Yeah. So this is my first. This is not your first one. This is your second one. Your first one.
So I did Time of Athens during the pandemic with Play on Shakespeare, but
Oh,
not, we just did it like over Zoom. This is my first
yeah.
time like in the
We're
booth doing the
recording
full
it. Yeah.
production.
Yeah. I've never had to record um these types of things before. A play like this is so different than recording anything else because the note that I continuously got from our lovely director Andy Wolk, he kept saying, I need to hear the transition between those two lines. And I'm like, hear the transition. I mean, I'm doing a no, transitioning in this situation, but you need to hear it. You need a voice, a vocal cue that tells you where you're going. And I haven't done enough radio or radio plays to make that come naturally to me. So that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, it's a fascinating experience when you have to totally build the world just orally,
Yeah.
because you also don't, it's not like animation voiceover where
No.
like there's going to be a visual component. It's no, this whole thing people are just going to be listening to and they got to hear it and then see everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
is
it's really different.
yeah. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I'm impressed, like impressed that they've assembled the cast they have, folks
Mhm.
like, I walk in the room and I see you and I see Michael Lowoye and I'm like, "Okay, well,
Mm,
okay, we doing the thing in here."
the golden
Um,
voice, Michael.
Incredible.
Really beautiful
Trying to get
voice.
him on the show too.
Yeah.
But what's impressive to me is it's Shakespeare and they have a platform where people are tuning in to listen to Shakespeare,
Mhm.
to the point where they are able to, financially pay for a cast of really like heavy hitter actors to come in and do the work. Um, it's not life changing money, but it's
It's
we
not it's not it's not dinner changing money. I mean
no, no, it's like it's like we're getting paid a weekly wage, and it's been a great opportunity, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Oh, it's great. I mean, this is the secret, the deep, dark secret when people say to me, uh, "Do you think this person would do my reading? Do you think this actor would do this?" And I'm going, Yes, actors wanna act. They just wanna act, and,
Yeah.
sometimes if it's a bad situation, they'll say no. I always like to say, "I can I can do anything for 2 weeks." You know what I mean?
Mm,
But for anything longer than 2 weeks, I need 2 of 3 things. There's 3 different, nails to hit, right? 1 is money, 2 is not in any particular order, but one of them is money, one of them
mhm,
is the role,
mhm.
and the other one is the opportunity, who you're gonna work with, who's gonna hear it, what it's gonna
Yeah,
be. And I realized long ago that in order to be in any way satisfied with anything over 2 weeks or patient with anything over 2 weeks,
yeah,
I have to have at least 2 out of the 3,
yeah,
You can do money and roll, but it's in the middle of, nowhere where no one's gonna see it. You could do money and you could do role and opportunity, even if I did that on Broadway. I got some really, like, baseline Broadway money after many years of working. I got offered scale on Broadway, but the role was great and the people I was working with was great. And you just need 2 out of 3. This one, even though
yeah,
it was a short time, it was only 2 weeks, I
yeah,
you know, I think the role and the opportunity were both there for me, even if the money was, not life-changing, as you say, it was totally worth doing to work with the people we were working with
yeah.
and to chew on the words that we got to chew on.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I love that you just broke down the criteria for how you choose,
Mhm.
what you work on, um, and those are mine as well. It's,
I think if everybody boils it down, it really comes to that. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot of times in my life where I've had 1 out of 3 and you just gotta suck it up and do it. When you're young,
yeah,
you gotta get yourself in there and doing stuff and having experiences. At this point in my life, I know what my criteria are
yeah,
basically, and that's been a pretty good golden rule for me as a 2 out of 3.
yeah.
But if it's shorter than that, I can do 1. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do
If
a
it
role for I do something because I really like the role,
yeah,
for a week. That's
and
fun.
what's great about those criteria are that it's totally subjective and relative. Relative's maybe a better word,
Mhm.
like, you and I are at different places in our career, so in theory, for you, what might constitute like worthwhile pay for me, like might be,
Absolutely.
something totally different, because
Absolutely. Yeah, and I
you
think
know,
but I think if you keep those in mind, no matter how the criteria shift, what constitutes an opportunity, what constitutes a great role.
yeah,
As you grow in your career, those will shift, but for me, I had to keep those in mind. Listen, how many
absolutely.
times have we done the first job I had out of college as an actor
Mhm.
was playing a nutcracker standing at, like, J.C. Penney in the, you know, in the Christmas area because
Yeah.
and this is the old joke, "Why did you get the job?" "Because you fit the costume." But I needed the money, and at
Mhm.
that point, just getting the money obviously, the role was, pretty stiff,
Yeah.
and the opportunity was nothing. The only person
Yep.
who saw me in that was my my high school, history teacher who was like, "Oh, this is what you're doing now."
Yeah.
So, your criteria change, but early on, sometimes you just do the one that's in front of you because the experience or the money or the role is just something you need to have.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that. My After my junior year of college, I went and did a juggling show at Hershey Park,
Mhm.
and that was, like, my first professional gig, and at the time, that money was so good.
So good, right?
It was,
So
like,
good. Yes.
500 and change a week or something like that.
Life
Um,
changing.
like, as a college student,
Yes.
I had never seen so much money in my life. I was
Totally.
chilling, and it was brutal. It was middle of the summer, we were performing outside,
Oh, yeah.
I was doing handstands and juggling and stuff, and I was like,
Oh,
like,
man.
getting killed out there, but I was like, "Man, this dough really was," at that time, for me, life-changing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so you do for
And
you.
Hershey Park, who doesn't love Hershey Park?
Yeah, got a lot of free chocolate,
Yeah, right?
why not?
There you go.
But back to you. So, Snow White's currently in theaters, and you played Sneezy. And I'm just curious, a very general question. How was the experience for you? How was shooting?
Well, first of all, let's be clear, I played the voice of Sneezy. I wasn't,
To be fair.
wasn't walking around in costume. Although I was walking around with a lot of dots on my face and a giant camera attached to my head to,
Oh, so they did
capture everything.
mocap it.
They'd mocap my face,
Okay.
and they used other people to mocap their bodies, the people who could actually dance and move and jump around more than the rest of us.
Oh, okay,
So,
sure.
basically, we were there for 3 weeks at the very beginning of this process
Mhm,
in England at Pinewood Studios, which was phenomenal to be in these are places where they shot the James Bond movies
uh-huh,
and Raiders of the Lost Ark stuff. This is all, like, at Pinewood, and, gorgeous facility, and, just to be there was great, and we just recorded us doing all the music first, and then we had only a couple of days of that were to record the lines,
wow,
and the
okay,
reason they only take a couple of days to record the lines is because every single one of those lines of dialogue were going to be replaced as the movie progressed. This we were basically
mm,
doing a guide track for the people doing the actual full body mocap, the very, very talented
okay, I
group
understand,
of people. So they would do mocap to our lines,
yeah,
and then the script might change, and they'd have to add a line, or they decided they want that line to be faster, or they would change things a bit, and then we would go back individually into recording studios over the next 3 years, really, and just repeat the dialogue and add not only
uh,
dialogue, but add what they call, actions or efforts or
mhm,
presence, and that could be everything from going, "Ooh, bleh, ah," to, just breathing and standing there and letting having a presence with your breath.
mm,
So, it was really fascinating. So, the 3 weeks we were there, again, we spent a lot of time on the new music, some of which didn't even make the movie, but
mhm,
the music, all this new music and some of the old music like Hi Ho and Whistle While You Work.
yeah,
So we would just show up, put our cameras on so they get our faces dotted up, and then we would just spend the day singing, acting, doing fun things, and, it was probably one of my favorite jobs I've ever had.
I love hearing that, I love
It's
hearing that.
great. Mm.
Do you feel I know there's a lot of, like, chatter about the fact that it was, like, they're using animation
Yeah, yeah.
instead of, like, people. Do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, they all wanted to make controversies out of everything in this movie. That was like very big
It's
deal, and
crazy, yeah.
everybody I know who's seen the movie goes, "I don't know what the controversies were. It was just a kids movie with that was really
Yeah,
beautiful, and the music was great, and Snow White was captivating, and yeah, I mean, it's a kids movie, and the people who it's aimed for, I think, the reviews are good. The
yeah,
reviews are in, and they're good, and what happened was when we were first starting this process, when they first cast us in the movie, it was very clear we were going to be CGI. That was their plan was to make these little people CGI or these I shouldn't even say little people, these magical creatures CGI. They worked very hard to their credit at Disney to try to make it so that we weren't exacerbating the idea that little people, dwarves, midgets, people who have those abilities or disabilities are considered different than human beings. They
sure.
literally cast people from the little people community in live action roles that have nothing to do with being little people. They just put them in the movie,
Mhm.
almost daring people to go, wait a minute. This is an actual little person talking
Yeah,
to a sneezy.
right,
You can't compare them. They're completely different creatures in a way. This is a human being and this is a
right.
magical forest creature.
Mhm.
So they really paid close attention to that. They also gave people behind the scenes from the little people community uh, chances to participate as editors, as in cameras and things like that, just as internships at first, but with the
Uh-huh.
promise of potential jobs later on because those that's a community that's been marginalized and
Yeah.
overlooked in certain ways. So there was at least one little person in our band of brothers that played
Mhm,
Grumpy,
mhm,
Marty Kleba, and you know, really there were a lot of stupid rumors going around saying, someone said something about it and they decided to change it to CGI, and the answer is no, it was always CGI. It was always going to be this way.
mhm,
Disney didn't bow to pressure on anything. They just they were from the very beginning trying to be respectful of, paying homage to the original, but also, toning down or cutting out a lot of the the more antiquated ideas, including that a
Sure.
woman needs a handsome prince to rescue her, or
Mhm.
that they need that Snow White, that being fair and of skin is more
Mhm.
beautiful. They worked very hard to alter those things. I mean,
Or yeah.
yeah, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, like you said, people like to kinda create controversy where there's just it's a
Just the
kids
nature
movie.
of it.
It's a
Yeah,
kids movie.
yeah,
And the kids, like you said, they love it.
yeah,
They love
yeah.
it. The
As
kids
far as
love
I
it.
could tell, kids really enjoy it. I enjoyed it. I was,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not
because
even a kid, but
these
I enjoyed it.
Disney, they have their people out. They're doing the studies, they're doing the interviews, they're
Yeah.
they're collecting their data, and it all says that the kids love it.
Listen, I understand, the original thoughts about this movie coming from that, the Little People community. There is a Little Persons Association of America, and one of the president of that was, a consultant on this and gave them some thoughts about how he thought things should be, done and, to correct for or to, not exacerbate certain things, and they
Mhm.
took some of those in mind. I think some they didn't, but again, it was not unthought out. It was not thoughtless in the way that they handled the situation, and I think they handled it really well.
Heard. And the CGI component,
Mm.
obviously, like, I mean, it does make sense for this movie. Do you have any kind of fear? I know there's also chatter about people like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, like, this is where our jobs are going. They're
Yeah,
not even using people anymore."
sure.
Do you have feelings around that? Do you think that's substantiated at all?
Yeah, no, I mean, not in this case. Disney absolutely brought us in for every hiccup, for every sneeze, for every sound that they absolutely could have, pulled from somewhere else or from someone else. There was one line that they had me replace, and I'm like, "Why am I replacing this line? I'm saying it exactly the same way." And they said, "That's because that's not you. That's somebody covering you." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, there you go."
Mm, okay,
They were up and as far as I can tell, they were very above board about it.
nice.
And, but that's not to say they will or everyone will from then on,
Yeah,
I worry about it as much as anybody. I don't know how I mean, I don't know, I don't know how you feel about it. My vibe is, I like to think that what I do is specific enough and, you know, connected enough and that it's irreplaceable,
yeah,
but I don't know anymore. I really things are so well done now, and Disney now owns every facial tick and vocal, range that I've got, singing and speaking. So, if they held on to that, I don't know. If they held on to that and wanted to replace me in a completely other movie without me knowing it, I don't know. I mean, this is the technology these days.
yeah.
I've really taken a bigger step towards live performance.
Mhm.
The only thing I can say is, I mean, I think Keanu Reeves was recently talking about this, about, there are certain things that come from experience that I don't think a machine can ever have
Yeah,
that are irreplaceable. The experience of loss or the experience of pain or the experience of elation that actors at their peak can bring to a performance that CGI or that, AI can only guess at or, steal.
yeah,
And, I don't know that that's gonna be ultimately satisfying to an audience. It could substitute somewhat, but I don't know that it can ultimately
yeah.
satisfy an audience.
Well, and the way I think about it is, like, animation isn't new.
Right.
Right? Like, we have animated films now with
Mhm.
humanoid characters,
Mhm.
and, it's not like animation is just taking over the world and people only want to watch animated things.
Right.
There is a movie studio out now that's making AI movies. What's the name of the studio? The woman with
Mm.
the red hair. Staircase Studios.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I was talking to some actors the other day, and we're talking about AI and stuff like that. Like, yeah, one day they're gonna be making AI movies. And I was like, "Oh, they're here.
Oh, yeah.
They're already here. There's a whole studio, and that's what they do." Um, and I think it's probably like any other innovation where the pendulum is probably gonna swing really hard, maybe in one direction where everybody gets excited about it and it's cheaper and whatever. But I do agree with you, and I hold on to some faith that, like, you just can't recreate the organic human experience. Like,
I wonder if we are gonna be later down the chain of this. It will take over, it has taken over a lot of, post-production, for example.
yeah,
It's taken over a lot of, actual production,
yeah,
like, instead of going to locations and hiring a lot of people, you can do it in front of a giant,
yeah,
globe as they do out in for Disney and, Jon Favreau and all those things that are doing
yeah,
that. So, uh, they'll be able to do legal stuff, and, without humans, and I don't know when scripts start going that way, if people start using AI scripts more and more, and that again, there's a very big argument for plagiarism there because they're basically language trained on other people's work.
right.
So there's an argument for that. But actors, I mean, are you a gamer? Do you do any gaming? I do very
Not
little
really.
gaming, but
I don't really do
you've
much gaming.
seen what gaming has now in the way of
Yeah, it's like really
humanoid. It's really great, but it's
yeah.
not
No, you
human.
can clearly tell those aren't people.
I sometimes look at those games, and when they're doing the in between scenes, in these games where it's just like your hands off and you're watching these people converse, I'm like,
Yeah,
why aren't you just using real actors here? You got their voices, you got
yeah,
their mannerisms. It looks humanoid, but it doesn't look human. Just put the actors in. There's no point. But we're it might come for us, it might not. But okay, the business is the business, the art is the art, and no one's gonna stop me from writing. Even if AI
right.
can do it better. I'm gonna go with let's go with better than I can. They could write a movie
Mhm.
quicker, better, cheaper than I can. Doesn't mean I'm not gonna do it. It's not I'm gonna still act. I'm still gonna find ways to do it. Now, as a career, it's gonna be hard. It's getting harder every day. And maybe there'll be opportunities that open up because of AI that we're not even aware of yet, as opposed to everything
Yeah,
getting closed down. It just might change where we go. But I I don't know many actors who got into this originally because it was a good paycheck, you know what I
right.
mean? We got into this because there's something in our soul that wants to express itself, and there's ways of doing that. We like the community of being around other people and doing it and not in isolation. We
Yeah,
like doing it in front of people usually where we can get immediate feedback and response and some communal event, and that's the one thing that AI cannot provide is a communal event. It just
yeah.
doesn't happen that way. So, I mean, that's what I hang my hat on at least.
Well, that's such a great segue because
All
you speak
right.
you're just talking about taking your art into your own hands, right? There's a lot of fear right now around AI, especially around technology in general and where our jobs going and there's already a contraction happening. There's literally less jobs now than there were pre-pandemic. And now you're telling me computers can do it too. Um, but I think what's really awesome is a story you told me when we were in the booth the other day, about how you started your career, and I think
Mhm.
it's a lesson we can all take away. So can you talk about, like, getting your start and the Making Faces project and how I know you said, like, that led to kind of your move out into LA?
Yeah. The Making Faces was actually the name of a show that I did with a partner named Joel Hurt Jones, and it was sketch work. We had several productions. The last one that we did was called Making Faces with Kravitz and Jones. We were just a double act, that was doing, well, we started out when I first moved to New York, I was living in Washington, DC, doing, a lot of, what I didn't go to grad school, but I basically had the opportunity in Washington, DC after college to work on Moliere and Shakespeare and, Alan Ayckbourn and, David Ives and, Nikki Silver. I had quite the range of projects that I was able to work on. At the time, though, I grew up this way, I was always creating something of my own at the same time. I was putting together a 2-day production of The Tempest in the Woods, a site-specific thing that was just for actors to play, and that was
Mhm.
called Shakespeare in the Rough, and that was just mind-blowing to me to watch other actors perform in that way, and I put that together. I had been writing songs. I'd been, creating whatever I could, videos with friends of mine after college. So I was always somebody who was kind of entrepreneurial in my art. I just always wanted to be doing something more, even if I was working, in the theater. And then when I moved to New York, my opportunities on a professional level just dried up really quick. I couldn't get an
Mm,
agent. I started doing some commercials, but it was like very few far between. But immediately, like within 3 months of moving to New York, I connected with a group of people that were performing every Monday night at this little space down on Ninth Avenue at first, and then on 42nd Street, called A Rumble in the Red Room. And it was literally people coming in, the same people every week with 10 minutes of material. Could not be stand up, had to be character driven, uh, could be sketch, could be music, but or it could be one man show or just a monologue or something, but at 10 minutes or less and character driven.
mm,
And I immediately like honed in on that. I was like, I want to do that. I want to do more of that. So I started writing my own material there. And then my friend Joel moved up from DC as well, and he wanted to do it. And the nature of something like that is you're supposed to have something. If you sign up, you're supposed to have something that Monday night. And if you don't, you start calling other people and going, "What are you working on? Can we work on something together?" So
uh-huh,
Joel and I ended up working on a lot of things together and separately and with other people. But Joel and I specifically were doing a lot of the same type of stuff, a lot of music involved with it, a lot of sketchy type stuff involved with it. And we ended up developing all these pieces over time. And then we were looking for agents. So we were like, let's do a show. Let's do our own show and put it up. And we did. And it was a good learning experience. And then got another, did it again a year later, changed it up a little bit, invited more people. But no matter how many people we invited, we weren't getting agencies to come or anybody else.
mhm,
Uh, I was very impatient to get people there to see it. It's great stuff. Come on, you got to see it. But of
yeah.
course, there's so much to see. People get flyers all the time.
Yeah,
You never see
everybody's saying
everything.
that their show is a great show
It's a
that they
great show.
you should
You got
come
to come see
see.
it.
Yeah.
So eventually I said, you know what? I met an agent out in LA and we have friends out in LA. And Joel was from LA originally. And I said, why don't we just go do the show there like for 3 nights? We'll do it 3 times over a week. I'll find a space, sight unseen. And we found this space on Melrose Boulevard, right above the Improv, or behind the Improv. And so we put the show up, and circumstances had it that somebody invited a casting director, and that casting director, Mark Hirschfeld, who had just finished casting Seinfeld, so he was kind of a big deal, and he said to us, "Hey, listen, I love the show. We're finishing the final callbacks for the HBO Comedy Festival in Aspen, Colorado, which was kind of a big deal." And he goes, "Everybody's in town. We have to be at the Improv at 6 p.m. on Saturday night. If you can do an hour at 4:30,
Uh-huh.
I'll bring everybody." And we were like, we can make that happen. We
I
called
can
all our
do it. We can do
friends.
it an hour, just one.
What do you want? What do you want? You want 20 minutes? You want an hour or 2 hour? Whatever you want. Midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, we don't care.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mark, we got all our friends to come back to the show. We said, just come out and laugh. And he brought everybody. And within a couple of days, we were invited to the Aspen Comedy Festival, which was for us just not on the radar at all.
Yeah.
But it was the place. It was where all the development people were, all the comedians were. We went from like, doing our own costume changes backstage with like, you know, uh, friends running sound and dragging people into the show to a guaranteed 250 person a night audience for 3 nights with professional sound people helping us with our costumes. What do you need? We're like, what is happening? We had no idea. So
Yeah.
we just went and we had a great time. We performed. They were celebrating Second City, that uh, festival in 1999, and so they were
That's
all
a
there.
nice moment to
All
be a part of.
all of them were in the audience, and I was like, "Wow, everybody's here. This is really weird."
Mm,
So we became we won an award. We won Best Sketch Comedy Award, and we were kind of the talk of the festival. So when we went back to LA, which we lived in New York, but we went to LA right after, and everybody wanted to meet with us. And we totally had no idea what we were doing. We had no great we had no advice from our agents at the time, our new agents. They were like,
Mhm.
"Just be yourselves." But that was not what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to walk in with a pilot idea that they could rip apart and tell us, "Come work with our friends and we'll make something for you." But we didn't. We walked in going, "Hey, we'll do whatever you want. Act, sing, dance, direct, whatever. We do it all."
Mm.
And they were like, "Thank you very much for coming." And then we crashed. So
Ah,
we what it did was it got us to LA. It
hurt.
did nothing more than that, really. We met some lovely people, we made some friends, and we had this agent, which was kinda small potatoes and didn't, gave us some bad advice, really. But we were there, and it just so happened that they were casting, um the first episode of the 4th season of The Practice. Um, David Kelly's The Practice on ABC, and they were looking for a guest star for 1 or 2 episodes that was supposed to be this Napoleonic, lawyer. And, I think they had offered it to Jason Alexander. He didn't want it, and so they were auditioning, and I got the part. And then they kept writing for me after that, and they kept bringing me back, and then I spent 2 years on that show, and my career took off from there.
Mm,
I mean, took off meaning it took off and then it fell apart, and then it took off and then it fell apart, took off from there, whatever. But it
as
definitely
they
gave
do.
me exactly. But it was a pretty decent, introduction to the masses.
That story is so good. Even the second time, I've heard it before, but it's
Oh,
still
I'm
so
glad you liked
good.
it the second time.
Um, you're, like, good at this whole storytelling thing. You should, you know?
Maybe I should make a living at it maybe, I don't know.
Um, so many things. Well, one, what I think is really special and what I appreciate about you being here today and that our audience gets to hear is your ability to literally track the actions that led to a moment of success in your career. And
Mhm,
I would argue really catapulted and jump started your career as a whole. But if we want to bring it down, like that moment working on the practice was, a moment of success. And you can track and say, like, me and my friend, we created this thing. We went out on a limb and we went and did this festival and people were there. And even though that didn't end up working out, it led us to this place. And then
everything looks good in hindsight, though. I mean,
I'm sure in the moment it was kind of like, what are we
oh,
doing? Like,
yeah,
what?
I mean, it just if who knows what would have happened if I would have been in New York, I could have gotten something else. I mean, I really don't know. You just the career the lesson I take away from all of this is do the thing. Do the thing that you wanna do, that you enjoy, that you think is great, and aim for something, It's like, "I'm heading for this, I'm gonna get known for this," and chances are you will not get that. But
Mm,
something else will happen, and you don't know what that
yeah.
is, you don't know where the turn is gonna be, you don't know what the inciting incident is gonna be that
Yeah.
gets you to a different place, and it's gonna lead you to the place you were supposed to be. I even say that to people who say to me, "You gotta help me, my kid wants to be an actor, he wants to go to college for acting, I don't know, I'm so scared that, it's such a tough career, and we're gonna put all this money into school, and then what happens if he doesn't make it?" And I say to
Mm,
them, "Chances are they won't make it, but this will lead them to the thing that they're supposed to be doing.
mm,
So let them go. Support them
mm.
wholeheartedly. They might not wanna do it after 2 years. They might wanna do it they might get their degree and try it and then not wanna do it. Or, like, I have friends who were I was in college with who were aiming for a degree in theater, and we happened to do a production of Children of a Lesser God, and they learned sign language for it, and then they now are sign interpreters, some of the most busiest sign interpreters on the East Coast, and they have a whole business based on interpretation, which they got because they happened to be in college at the time we were doing Children of a Lesser God. So,
Wow.
you never know where it's gonna lead you. So, just
Yeah.
go for the thing. Go for the thing, and just know that it might not happen, but if you go for it, something you're opening the doors in ways you don't even know.
Oh, we need to put that on a t-shirt. Do
Yes, and a mug,
do the
and
thing.
do
I
the thing.
actually just pulled up a quote that you reminded me of. It's often attributed to W.H. Murray. Anywho, he says, "The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the old quote about luck being the intersection of,
Preparation.
preparation and opportunity,
Yeah.
and so you just gotta be as prepared as possible, and sometimes that means just doing the thing. And today, I gotta say, today, if you're a young person, you have so much more access to that, you know? You have so much more access to, cameras and audio, and like you said, before we started this, the one thing about, going through the pandemic as an actor is you learn to do so much tech. You
Yeah.
know, I learned to edit video. I was editing all these videos. I've become a pretty decent editor on Premiere. I've learned to record. I recorded an album. You know what I mean? Like a decent
Hey,
album.
that's dope.
And I've learned Photoshop and promotional things that I never thought I would ever learn, but it's all part of it. So, but and I'm a middle-aged dude. They're young people now.
Well
It's much more accessible with, especially with, there's things like AI to help you and stuff like that. I don't have the knowledge of that, but people do.
well, and even if you're not young, it it to me, it works just on the flip side of the coin, right?
Mhm.
Technology can be the great equalizer. Like,
Exactly.
say you didn't start your career really young and you're maybe a little later in life, it's like, "Yo, you can send in a self-tape now."
Yes, you can.
You
People
don't
do
have
it from all over the country. It's a pain in the butt for me because, it's like what used to be the providence of people who lived in Los Angeles and New York is now everybody's, you can
Yeah,
be anywhere and do anything as long as you can get yourself to set or
yeah,
to a recording studio or even in the recording studio in your house if you have the right equipment. So,
yeah.
it's a very different world, and I think that people, I mean, I'm still doing the same thing. I have a show coming up on July 10th, a show I created 10 years ago that's an improvised cabaret, and
Oh,
it's,
sick.
just me and a band and songs, titles pulled from a fishbowl, the
Mm,
life story of somebody that you've never met, never heard of before, And so it's
yeah,
like I started doing that 10 years ago and I've built it and built it. I've traveled all over the world with it. It's opened a lot of doors for me. I mean, not every door, but certainly I know for sure that people who have come to my show have thought of me in a different way for the purposes of actual theater work or actual film work. They see me in the show and they go, "Well, that guy can do that. Well, then he could probably do this. Let's just offer him that thing." It doesn't happen nearly as much as I'd like it to, but
yeah,
it definitely has opened those doors. So, I'm a firm believer in do the thing. Do the
yeah.
thing.
Do the thing.
Yeah.
Now, I've got just 2 final questions for you.
Sure.
One probably relates to, this band of yours, but I was just I'm looking through your IMDb and I'm like, "Holy crap, this dude's got, like, over 100 credits between film and TV work." Um, so I'm like my question is, like, what excites you at this moment? You know?
Hmm.
You've done so much, like, looking at your resume, it's the kind of resume that, like, I'm sure a lot of people listening to the show, myself included, where we're like, "Holy crap," like, he you're talking about your friend, like, "What if he doesn't make it?" We look at you and we go, "You've made it."
Yeah, well,
Now I'm
it's all a relative term. What
right.
excites me is, what excites me? I think I'll be honest with you, everything excites me. I realized this about me a long time ago. I love to work. I love to be involved in things. I loved playing Appomattox in Time of Athens. With Tony Cochran, who's brilliant, playing Timon. What an enjoyable time that was,
Right.
I also like being on the set of a show, any set, a television show, a film set. I love working with really talented actors. I love doing music. I love when I get opportunities to do musicals. I love performing the shows that I do on my own. I love doing, I did a show with John Turturro a year and a half ago. That was a Philip Roth play that was adapted.
Yeah.
Just I was playing, several characters, including a 100-year-old man. That's exciting to me. So
Yeah.
I really just enjoy all of the creative stuff,
Mhm.
especially when I'm collaborating with other people. I just love being in that community, no matter where it is. It's on a set or on a on a lot or on a stage. So,
That's
yeah, I
awesome.
mean, everything excites me still.
That's a great place to be.
Yeah,
I love that you still have, like, that just that fire and that desire.
yeah.
Um, my final question,
Mhm.
uh, what would you consider to be your defining quality as a storyteller?
I think in spite of the fact that I blabbed on for the last hour, I think it's the fact that I know when to get out, you know? I think there's something about being concise and knowing how to edit down, especially when I'm writing something. It's being able to chop it down and keep chopping it down till it's exactly where it needs to be. That's how I feel about it, at least. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but that's how I feel about it,
That's awesome. And that was a concise answer. So Jason,
relatively.
man, thank you so much for clearing out some time to talk today. I know you're
Hey,
really
man.
busy right now. Can't tell you how much I appreciate it and how much I respect you just like as an artist. And the point of view that you bring and the fact that you were willing to, me, a young actor, working on the same project together and just chat with me on our breaks and stuff. And
Yeah, man.
yeah, I
Listen,
appreciate
it's
it.
all about the community and being with each other, and that makes you tell better stories anyway. But the truth is, I think Hassiem it's like you have no problem getting someone like me to talk because nothing an actor likes better than to talk about themselves. So I had a great time doing it. So thanks for
Sure.
this.
Awesome. And where can people keep up with you? Are you on socials?
Yeah, I'm on Jason Kravitz with an S at the end, Kravitz. At Instagram, you'll find a lot of stuff that's going on there. So that's pretty much where I stick. I'm on Blue Sky too, but pretty much Instagram is where I communicate with people these days.
Heard. All right, Jason. Well, I'll let you go. Again, thank you so much for coming on to the show,
Cool, man.
and we'll chat soon.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed this interview with Jason Kravitz, then you'll love the recent conversation I had with the Blacklist's Lana Young. So be sure to check that out. Guys, thank you so much for tapping into this episode of The Actor's Instrument. Wherever you're listening, make sure to like this episode, subscribe, or give us a follow. It helps out a ton. We'll be back next Tuesday. Till next time, y'all. Peace.